Jonathan Hogan. I play Mr. Rice.
Excellent. So, you've done a production of this already. You performed this in New York City at Irish Rep, is that right? How long did it run?
We were supposed to, we went from January till April 10th.
Really?
We extended a month.
Have you worked with the Irish Rep before?
No, I haven't.
First time?
First time. And I've lived 4 blocks from them since they've been there.
How long have you been in New York City?
Since about 1973.
Wow, wow. Have you done a Brian Friel play before?
No, never.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what's it been like?
It's been great fun. I mean, aside from the memorization, which was very daunting in the beginning, and daunting yet again, but amazingly enough, when I started looking at it again in August, it came fairly quickly, just because the language is so gorgeous.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about Molly Sweeney, about the play, about what it means to you? How?
Well, it's about Mr. Rice. No, actually, what it means to me, and what I was thinking the other night, after our first preview, is that for such a small, I mean, in terms of cast, in terms of production, because it's so simple, and the fact that it's all speeches and there's no action, so to speak. When we got to the end of it on the first preview, I thought, this is an epic. It's an epic story. I mean, it's a big story. I mean, from the beginning of it to the end of it, you really travel with these people and go through a monumental event. And it just struck me how, and especially with the way the audience was listening to it and responding to it, that it's just a really big play. I mean, which is sort of odd given that it's a very small play. Right. But what it deals with is just so large in terms of its humanity, I guess.
Do you see bits of yourself in the character, in the role?
Sure, one always does.
Yeah. What is it like preparing for a role like this?
Well, it's interesting. Somebody asked me yesterday, because Geraldine Hughes originated it with the Irish Rep, and then Simone replaced her, and someone asked me, you know, how they were different, and I said they're just different people, but they just approaching you wouldn't say that one is better or one is because because of the way it's written. There's a great deal of latitude, I think, in what you can bring of yourself to it. And Geraldine played it differently than Simone did, and both of them were equally as moving and as so. Preparing for it is, I mean, somebody said that because Jason Robards had done it, and was done in New York, and somebody had seen it and said it was a completely different interpretation. But I mean, you can sort of go any way you want to, I imagine, because it's because of the fact that it's monologues. Mm-hmm. You've got a lot of leeway, I think.
Do you find it's different with audiences each night? I mean, because it's a direct address play, because so much of the play is sort of these three characters speaking and addressing us in the audience. Do you find that it changes much with each changing audience? Or?
I don't think the audience has much to do with the changes, but yeah. Since it is monologues, you can. It's kind of amazing how you can surprise yourself every night, because all of a sudden you hear something differently from, and a thought will strike you where it hadn't before, or something will be funny where it wasn't before, and it has to do kind of in your own head, because the audience doesn't affect it all that much.
Is there a moment in the play? I mean, I'm sure there are many, but is there one? Is there a moment that you'd like to share with us that you're particularly drawn to? Yeah,
when Simone, as Molly, talks about her mother in her last speech, and she's living in a psychiatric hospital at that point, and she's talking to the audience and talking about what her life is like, and then she talks about the people who visit her, and if you're paying attention, if you've been paying attention, you go like, hang on, I thought Lou and her husband were both dead, and there they are, and he's doing the poem for everyone, and she's wearing purple gloves and a green cloche hat and a skirt that barely covers her bum, and you go like, well, wait a second, I thought you said, I thought she was blind, and then you realize that she's hallucinating. And then when she says her mother comes in and sits there with that half beseeching smile on her face, and when she sees her sitting on her bed, she thinks she knows her better than she ever has, and she loves her. Like the first couple of times she did that, I would be standing on stage with the tears pouring down my face just because it was just so heartbreaking. And that's when you realize that Molly is basically mad. And it's so subtly done and subtly written that I missed it. You know, the first couple of times I heard it, I thought, and then all of a sudden I said, oh my God, she's dead.
Yeah.
And it's just heartbreaking.
That's amazing. Do you? Probably just one last question, then, really quickly. You know, we asked Simone how she got into acting, so perhaps I'll share that question with you as well. Which is, how did you get into the?
I got into it because my grandmother, when I was 9 years old, signed me up for the Junior Community Theater in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where we were living at the time, and I went for classes and just fell in love with it, and so I've been doing it ever since.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, may you do it for many, many years to come.
Thanks. I hope so.
Jonathan, a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Same here.